Hey guys, welcome to the Hustler Hotspot, a podcast by Hustler Marketing, where we discuss retention marketing strategies, e-commerce success stories, and everything in between.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Hustler Hotspot, our podcast on all things e commerce marketing, retention marketing, especially email. And today with me, I have a very special guest. And no, it's not just because her name is Monica, which would make her my namesake, but also because she's doing some pretty exciting things in e commerce, just like us. So, Monica, I know you a little bit over the past few months, but why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi Monica. Always strange to say that, but really great to be here. Thank you for having me on. So yeah, I'm Monica. I'm actually live right now from Amsterdam in the Netherlands, where I live. I'm a brand growth strategist for e-commerce and product-based businesses, and I really help people who want a clearer, more focused vision for their brand, so that they can better communicate and connect, without spinning their wheels constantly on just content and ads that just sometimes don't seem to convert, and really work from a place where they're really trusting and be able to take clear actions in their business, and have more impact with the products they sell. I work a lot with conscious businesses, so it's really about having more impact with the products you're selling, and really being able to have a better relationship with your customers for the long term, like you said, to build a long-term relationship.
Yeah. Great. I think we are in the same same field as far as building a long-term relationship with your customer goes. But I like how you put it. You talk about conscious brands quite a lot. I know a fair bit about it, but what are conscious brands?
For me, conscious brands, I mean, one, for me, it's a principle of business. So this should not be the marketing angle like some companies use. And for me, it's a principle of business brands that have a really strong purpose, why they're really doing what they're doing. They obviously care about their product, but they also care about the people. So it's ethically made, fair. Even the people they employ in their teams, and diversity and equity and inclusion. They care about the planet, sustainability, and obviously they want to make a profit, because it has to be a long-term business, not just for themselves but also people they employ. But it's not profit maximization at any cost.
Right.
It's really taking everybody and all the stakeholders into account in the business, so that it's works for everyone in the chain. And for me, that's what a conscious business is.
Oh, that's beautiful. I think more and more brands should aspire to be in that space where it's not profit at any cost. But talking of profits, I think we're just fresh off the whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday fever. I know my team at Hustler Marketing has been busy, or rather in an overdrive, pushing out emails and all sorts of Black Friday campaigns. Because, of course, for our clients, this is one of the most important, if not the most important period in all of the year. I think here we sort of have a Pareto principle going where up to 80% of your annual sales can come from that 1 week period. So, I was just going through the numbers, and we've done about 2 million in sales already in the last 4 or 5 days, which is usually 10 times of any other same time amount of same amount of time. So yeah, Black Friday is really really something. So how's it been like for the companies you work for, or maybe it's not as relevant for the kind of businesses you work for?
Yeah, it's. I think all my clients that I have worked with in the past, they've all been running, I think, some sort of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or holiday campaigns. It's not something I directly work with them, because I really work on the longer term strategies and brand strategies. But one thing I have realized, and also there's a lot of research, by the way, showing that a lot of people have been holding much bigger sales. I think there's been a lot of emphasis on, or this feeling that we need to make this Black Friday work. And I think there was also research by American Express that showed that 1 in 4 small business owners felt that their survival of the business depended on these holiday seasons this year. So it's been a hard year for people. And I think this is the only thing I want to remind people is, like, why are you doing these sales and discounts? They are good to use, but use them strategically for the right reason. Make sure you have a goal. Is it to engage VIP customers? Is it to bring in new people to trial your product? Is it maybe to engage the people who have just been silent for a while? What is the reason you're doing it versus a desperation to create sales? Because that's just it's never going to work for the long term in your business. And I think on a personal note, I think we were speaking about this a little before. I bought quite a few things that I actually needed this Cyber Week holiday, Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend. But all these things were things that I would have bought anyways at full price. But I knew they were offering a sale, so why should I?
Yeah.
So it was just things I genuinely waited. I'm like, okay, I know they're going to be offering it. I
Yeah.
need to get my daughter a new bag. I really needed to. There were some other products we needed for home. Um, so just really think about how you're using your sales strategies, your discount strategies, and how is it serving your business, both short term and long term.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think even most of the brands are conscious of the fact that there's going to be a lot of their customers who would have bought anyway, but are going to buy, especially during this period. And they do sort of forecast that they are going to buy at a higher discount. But I think it really works out for them in the long run, because it also gives them an opportunity, because there's so much, like, I coming from email marketing and having gone through the back end numbers a little bit, I've seen that that uptick in the activity level of their customers at this point really improves the metrics even later on. It's sort of like this after effect of Black Friday that kind of continues for the next few weeks, lasting well into the holidays. So I think that sudden burst of activity, kind of awakening of dormant customers, is another unspoken benefit of the Black Friday sales, is that your list gets engaged.
Yeah,
um
and that's what I mean. Use it
yeah,
strategically, exactly what you
exactly.
said. But is it like if it's out of a desperation to get sales because your entire business needs to survive based on this? I think that's a different thinking that we need to
Yeah,
move away from versus what you're saying, which I think there's really a strategic way. This is when people are looking to shop. The
yeah,
visibility, you're going to get traffic. So this is a great time to say, hey, what can I create and offer people to just get them in to trial the products. Maybe you want to do something for only your loyal customers, but just really think through the strategy you're using. That's the only thing I really like to
yeah,
remind people of.
of course. And we have a few customers that actually chose not to participate this year in Black Friday. Instead, they did a very extended thank you customer sort of campaign, where they just like highlighted different aspects of their business that they are really thankful for, and many other things. I think brands are also realizing that doing the whole Black Friday is putting them in the Me Too side of things, where it's just one brand is indistinguishable from the other. So yeah, I think it's also breeding a lot of creativity in the Black Friday fever. But different folks, different strokes. So
Yeah. And especially I've seen a lot of conscious businesses, especially here in Holland, some of them, there's one who actually they shut down shop, a retail store on it's a big chain. They shut down shop on Black Friday saying and all as a team they went some do something great together as a Green Friday to something to run around build planting trees. Another one was doing a giving back Friday. So
okay,
they allowed people to donate things. It was a toy store and donate things for children in need. So there's just so much more that you can do when you know you have the eyes of people on your business at this moment.
yeah.
But what fits with you, your business, your customers, your brand? And if you are more of a conscious business, what can you actually do beyond the traditional Black Friday or Cyber Monday sales?
Yeah. And what I find the most fascinating is that how this small US tradition, if I can call it that, has sort of like spilled on all over the
Yeah.
world. Like in India, we have brands that are doing their own version of Black Friday sales, and Nykaa, which is one of the biggest
Yeah.
makeup brands here, did a whole Pink Friday, and they've been doing it for a while. And it was kind of strange to me at first, because doing Black Friday without the connotation or the backdrop of a Thanksgiving culture is strange. But I don't think Black Friday is even a is tied to Thanksgiving anymore. It's just become like this. You can call it like the annual shopping fiesta for e-commerce, which
Yeah.
is it just started as Black Friday, but it's just okay.
Yeah.
Annual sale day, I think is if truth be told, is annual sale day.
Exactly. I think there's so much more history to it. I don't even know the full story, but absolutely, it's just become something so much bigger around the world. And I think people even forget that the Saturday in between Black Friday and Cyber Monday is Small Business Saturday. And that's something I focus on a lot more in my messaging. And when I talk to people, it's the day they say, shop local, support small businesses. So I think a lot of people forget that one. It gets kind of lost in the whole Black Friday and Cyber Monday conversations.
Yeah, that's definitely new to me as well. And yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Is that something that that is culture specific or geography specific, or that's just a something that you've sort of come up with or practice a lot
No,
more?
it was I think it was started probably as a to counter the whole
Okay.
Black Friday and
Okay.
Cyber Monday, and it was started in the US. I think I forgot who did it, but it's become a pretty big thing as well, and it's both for online and offline businesses, so also retail businesses.
Okay, that's great then. Yeah, I think a lot of our clients would fit in that niche, and I'll have to go back and check if we
Yeah.
really did anything around that. But okay, moving on from the the BFCM, BCFM shebang. I always get like messed up here. So tell me what what's happening in e-commerce. I mean, both of us work in e-commerce, but in our our immediate field could not be more different. We work more on like short-term campaigns, of course, with the long-term view of building loyalty and
Right.
extending the lifetime value. But you work with slightly more on a curated model where you're looking at long-term strategy of branding, while we are looking at maximizing sales. So yeah, there is a bit of a difference. But yeah, I want to know, you talk a lot about repeat purchases, which to us in email or retention marketing is the holy grail, of course. So not that this topic can be summarized in 5 bullet points,
No.
but like what would you say is your overarching philosophy, or what advice would you give to a business looking to build repeat purchases?
Yeah. I love this question. Thank you so much because this is what I'm so passionate to talk about. It's really the repeat purchases. What most people start doing is just purely, obviously this traditional marketing and retargeting and a lot of emailing. But there's one thing I see a lot of businesses really miss on is going back to the foundations of a business, and which is really what's that big vision of your brand? Who is your customer? Who are you really speaking to? Who are the ones who are really clicking on buy? Who are they? What do they want? What are their needs, wants, and desires? And what does therefore your brand really stand for? What kind of value and benefit do you bring into their life? If you get that kind of clarity and then translate that across your messaging and the content and the copy and the customer journey, that's when you start building truly strong relationships with your customer and a clear bond with them, which leads to longer term loyalty. And this is the part I see a lot of people still skip on, or they feel they know it but they don't know it enough, and not really work on this. And you see that with the changing tide in e-commerce at the moment. I think we have a lot after the pandemic, the economic uncertainty, the inflation, the rising acquisition costs on social, on advertising,
Yeah.
algorithms changing, privacy things, so you can't track everything as specifically as we could. Finally, the conversation is moving to this. In all the circles I'm seeing, I'm finally seeing this, what I've been talking about for years, is really get to know your customers. Who are they? What do they want? Why are they buying from you? What's going on in their life? And how can you serve them better?
Yeah. So Monica, just an offshoot to that line of thought, um, we know to know the customer is to be able to sell to the customer eventually. But realistically, at scale, what are some of the more realistic measures you can take to really put a person behind numbers, or really how to know who your customers are? Let's say we're talking about a brand with hundreds of thousands of customers, and we know on the technical side of things we build segments and demographic segments and whatnot. But what do you do to really know the customer
Yeah.
of a brand?
So like you said, it will differ a little bit on the size of your business, I think. But obviously, you look into the data that you have first and foremost. A great place to start. And then you obviously have some great websites that you can use. There's Spark Toro that can give you some great insights into customers. Similar Web can show you where traffic and things are coming from. But there is nothing that beats pure customer research. And if you are a bigger business, you can obviously employ a research agency to do it. But there's so much that you can do yourself as well. One, obviously, there's surveys.
Yeah.
Great. You can send that to your whole audience, which a lot of people still do. What I think people miss is that one-on-one customer conversations, customer interviews. Even if you're a business with a lot of customers, taking out a segment and really speaking to your customers one-on-one, doing deep dive customer interviews, or creating a focus group of a group of people, that's when it gives you the opportunity to go beyond just the numbers, where they're purchasing or the demographics or the life stage they're at,
Yeah.
but really going deeper into who are they, what's going on in their life, what makes them happy, what are their struggles, what are their needs, wants, and desires, how are they behaving in your category, how do they find you and others, and what are kind of the triggers and barriers for them along that journey as well, and what truly makes them happy when they shop with you. So really speaking one on one, there is nothing that beats that. So either one on one customer research conversations, or you actually do a focus group. If you want to combine people, that's fine as well.
Yeah.
But really being able to go beyond just what people are saying,
Yeah.
and really going to what are they thinking and feeling as well, what are they actually doing.
Yeah.
Just to add on to that, because we know there's a lot of research that again shows that 95% of customer purchases are subconscious. People buy based on how they feel, and it's so difficult to voice that. So unless you really go into those deep dive customer conversations, it's so hard to get to that level.
That's such a good point because, as marketers, we might think that, oh, marketing's come a long way and we are so technically advanced now and we have all these tools and data. But really, go back to the basics and do those focus interviews and do the one-on-ones. And a lot of new age brands, I feel, are not doing that enough. I mean, you can send your surveys to emails and you can ask for reviews. That's one thing, but nothing like getting a bunch of people in a room or in a Zoom and really send them your products, ask them what worked, what didn't. And I remember when I was a college student, I used to get invited to so many of these focus interviews. Of course, they used to pay a little, so that was an additional sort of a incentive to go there. But I remember attending an interview, a focus interview like this for Levi's, big brand then, and they gave us some new launch t-shirts to test out, and then they after 15 days they called a few of us and said what was the experience like and what didn't work and all of that. And I think that happened 15 years ago. And a lot of marketing is basically classical marketing, and that it's still very, very relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether you're doing the traditional marketing offline, whether it's now everything is online. I mean, you cannot build a successful business without knowing who your customer is and who you're serving. That fundamental is one of the things that hasn't changed, and I don't think will ever change, no matter what happens. How technologically advanced we get, and how things develop into AI. I think what is going to happen is we're getting more and more research tools available in different ways online that using new found technology to get to know your customer, and that's going to be a great way to supplement it. But
Yeah.
honestly, taking out that time, even with just 10 customers and having one-on-one, that's just
Yeah.
10 hours of your time that can be spread over, is so insightful. It tells you so much about them. They feel like you genuinely care. And it also, for anybody who needs that push, it gives you swipeable words to use in your marketing as well. So there's just so much you can do with that. And a reminder to people that, it's not about that ideal customer. Most people think of an ideal, and an ideal is something, I say, if you even look it up in the dictionary, it's something you make up in your imagination. Find out who that real customer is. That person who's actually clicking on buy, because you want more of those people,
Yeah.
right? To speak to those real person, and don't just create something on paper based off our imagination or a few things we read online.
Yeah. And to add to that, I think just today, just before this call, I was on Blendjet's website. Blendjet is one of our biggest client, and so they also sponsored our company retreat. So I was on their page, And to see Blendjet really ask their audience, what kind of content would you like to hear from us? And then there was like a bulleted list, and that was so interesting to me because Blended is a brand that gets a super high level of engagement on their social media. Their videos go viral, and yet they don't sit tight on their laurels. Okay, everything we're posting is doing fine anyway. We're getting like thousands of engage metrics, but yet they ask, what kind of content would you like more on our social media? Is it more UGC, or is it more brand stories, or is it just funny memes and things like that? And I think that shows not only humility on their side, but also that even the biggest brands, every once in a while should do a little check in with their audience, that yes, numbers are great, but are you really catering to the audience's need as a customer, rather than just serving as like an entertainer, or just as great content, but you're not doing much as a brand or as a problem solver to them. So this reminds me of a very funny example. Is a lot of times brands spend a lot of resources asking feedback, or really soliciting reviews or ratings on Google Play Store, but they turn a blind eye, either consciously or subconsciously, to the feedback that's right staring them in the eye. Like I see so many times, like people are outraging about a brand, or they just tweeting about it, saying this is not working, and that tweet or that message gets totally ignored. On the other hand, they're asking 10 other customers to submit their rating. So I think my advice from all my experience to the customer, to the e-commerce brands, would be also look out actively for the feedback that's already there. It's called social listening. A lot of brands are already doing it, but your brand mentions are out there if you go looking for them, and there are a lot of people who are expressing their opinion whether you ask for it or no. This happens all the time on social media, right? Like somebody posts a rant, and then comes a very boilerplate templated reply: hey, thank you for your comment, we are looking into this, or we are sorry to know about your experience, while completely ignoring the exact issue that's meant
Yeah.
itself in the. And that I see
I,
that on LinkedIn and Twitter all the time.
I would actually try and take that conversation offline and say, hey, I'm really sorry to hear about this. Can we reach out maybe either in the DMs, or just get a phone number and try and get them on a call and really figure out what went wrong and help them. And sometimes those people become your biggest advocates, or even if they don't, they'll have given you enough insights into other things that you can improve in your business.
Yeah, exactly. Just listen, and answers are there. Your brand feedback is right there. Also, for people who are email marketers, a good point of reference to know who your customers are, or rather what's working and what not working with them, is look at your unsubscribe rate very often. What kind of emails are you seeing a very high unsubscribe rate on? And that's an unofficial sort of stamp of disapproval or approval. If you see a very high unsubscribe rate on a certain kind of email, maybe that's pushing too much discounting, or pushing too getting too promotional, maybe that's not what your customers really appreciate getting from you. So look out for that. And I think that's one metric that gets very, very ignored in our circles in retention marketing, because we get so caught up with the open rate, the click rate, and the conversion rate, really, or the revenue from an email, that we completely miss that one metric that's literally telling you that this kind of content is not working for the audience.
I think that's a great point, but I think there are two sides to that unsubscribe rate. I also have another thought on it, because if you're really clear what you stand for as a brand, who you're serving, what you stand for as a brand, and you're consistently creating content and messaging and emails that convey that, there are going to be people that, so on certain emails where maybe you take a strong stance or opinion about something, that will unsubscribe, and that may not always be a bad thing. But I agree that you need to look at it's worth looking at the unsubscribe rates, and maybe consistently, if maybe there's one thing you're doing that's consistently causing it, it's worth looking into it. But it's also worth keeping in mind that maybe you are being much clearer who you are as a brand and what you stand for, and in that case there will be some new people you'll attract, but there'll also be other people that you repel, and that's also okay. But
Yeah,
that means that you're really voicing,
yeah,
sharing that voice of your brand, and I think that's so important as well.
yeah, yeah. Just look at the outliers. you do expect a certain number of unsubscribes every email for sure. All right. So after that interesting segue into listening to your customers, I also want to know, you work a lot with turning products, or rather turning startups or e-commerce upstarts into brands, or that's your ideal goal, is to sort of lead them towards building a brand. So w- I mean, there's no simple answer to it, but what are some of the things that companies do right to go from a product company to a brand, to go from to a company that pushes product to a company that aspires, or a
Yeah.
company that invites people to
Yeah.
its
I,
products.
I I think we've been talking a lot about knowing your customer, and that's one of the foundational bits of that, because you can't sell more of your product, you can't shift towards creating a brand without knowing who you're speaking to. But I think the reminder is that you're selling so much more than a product. You're selling a lifestyle. It's an experience, even maybe a movement. If you really stand for something, people buy your product because of how it makes them feel. So you need to tap into those feelings, get to know who your customer truly is, why they're really buying, and then define a clear brand. What are the key benefits that you're offering them, and what makes you different and unique? So, and benefits can be, the product based, more functional benefits. What does your product actually do? Where a lot of people focus on, but how does that product make my customer feel? The emotional benefits, and how can it change their life? The transformational benefits. So if you define that ladder of benefits together with what really makes you unique and different, once you've known your customer, I'm going to keep emphasizing that, and then translate that into the products that you're selling, translate it to the content pillars, the messaging and copy on your website, and then consistently at every touch point that you interact with your customer, convey that. And that can include the packaging that you send out. But if you keep conveying that and really making it clear what's in it for them, your customer wants to know, why should I buy from you? So by taking these steps and then consistently guiding your customer along the journey towards buying, really conveying what the product does more for them than just being that product, what it really means to them in their life, that's when you start making that shift from being purely a product to actually a brand. And that can happen, slowly and steadily, but that's how great steps to work through.
Yeah, absolutely. And very interesting you say that, because I think one example that comes to mind for me also is again Blendjet. Blendjet sells a blender. That's their product, but that's not what they sell. They make a a blender, but they sell a lifestyle. They sell a lifestyle that makes you fitter, that makes you happier, that makes you definitely a force to reckon with in the health and fitness space. So I think that's the difference between a product company and a brand. Like Nike sells sports apparel, but I think it's always the most storied brand when it comes to how Nike doesn't sell sport apparel. Nike sells hope. Nike sells a spirit of sportsmanship and an attitude of just do it.
Yeah. And
So
it's an attitude in sportsmanship of that anybody can be a sporter. You may not be a top sporter, but anybody can do it. And that's what they stand for. And
yeah,
you'll also see, and I love the example you gave of Blendjet, because the blender is the tool
yeah,
to that life that they're creating. That's why I say it's for, you're creating an impact with your product. What is that impact that you're really creating? And then bringing that to life through, you can have then content which is more emotional based, story based, and combine that with the more product based emails, and create that whole story and bring that to life for your customer. Just always, and because you're not just solving a problem, you're fulfilling a desire in their life. The problem for blender, a blender is, oh, I just want to be able to blend things easily, but it's not that. There's a desire, like you said, to be healthier and fitter and do things with more ease as well, prepare things. So and that's what they do well. And you will see that the companies that rise out of more economic downturns and recessions are the ones with the strong brands, the ones that keep up that relationship with their customer, and that are able to really convey to them what's in it for them. Those are the ones who will also be able to come out stronger post a recession or any kind of harder economic times that we are in.
yeah. And that's really what most e-commerce companies, I think, that stand out are the ones that have managed to build a brand. And so do you have an example of such a brand, named or unnamed, that you think have done everything right? And maybe if you could give some tangible examples of what they've done to get to being a brand.
Oh God, there's so many big examples I have to think of. I can, I think I can give an example. One of my clients that I worked with, she sells a, she was still in the about multiple six-figure brand at the moment. When I worked with her, she's grown since, and she sells baby carriers. She curates from different brands, but ethically and conscious brands. Um, and she was really struggling. I think you will know that you will relate with this. So she built her business on new customers, literally a multi six figure brand on very little repeat purchase. And she was doing all the right things. Email, she had the traffic to her site, she was doing the ads, she had the emails, the content, she had a Facebook community, and people who were buying it absolutely loved it. Yet she wasn't able to, despite doing all the right retargeting, she was just not able to get the repeat purchase. So that's when we worked together and we really dove into what was happening. One, what is the big vision that she really wants to create for that brand of hers? What does she hope to achieve with it? But then who is her customers and why are they buying again? So we did those deep dive customer interviews using a technique I call customer story probing, where we invite the customers to tell stories. And the one thing we that came out of that research process with those deep dive interviews was really that the people who were buying from her were experienced moms, people who were either having their second child or third child or fourth, but they were on their, you could say, their last child. So once they bought her the carrier from her, they wouldn't be buying it again. No wonder she wasn't getting repeat purchase. And then we dove back in and we saw that in her audience, she actually had the first time moms as well, but they were lurking, not buying. And why? Because they were finding it harder to make a choice on what to buy. The experienced moms could easily make a decision because carriers, they've used them before from other places. They knew what they needed. First time moms, baby carriers can, there's so many options. What is right for me, for my body, for my child? They weren't able to make that decision and they needed that help. So she needed to make that shift from selling to just helping and guiding them. So we looked at things. How can you add rating system to your products, like a difficulty level of the carriers? Is there a quiz that she could install that maybe would help them make a choice? You say, depending on which stage you are at and what you're looking for, what would the right option be? Switch and make sure that the content pillars and the content she puts out was also more in guiding these people to make a right purchase. So I looked at the whole content bit with her based on that. And you could see that when you then, this is what I mean, making that shift from being a brand and helping them identify what it does for them in their life and the experience that they get shopping with you, obviously, but being able to make like what's in it for me and just guiding them through that whole process. So this is like just one of the examples that I worked with, but where we started making that shift.
Right. That's very interesting. And I think this is a good learning for all high ticket item brands that sell maybe once or twice a lifetime kind of products, that really this is not an impulse purchase. It's not something that your customers are just gonna be buying unconsciously or subconsciously. This is a very conscious purchase. So that's where a good brand and all the exercises to get there comes in, is of course tailored content, and a really get to know your customer again. Why are they not buying again? I think lack of repeat purchases, if you see, that's a sign that your advertising is working but your retention marketing is not working. So what are you doing to retain the customers or bring them back?
Yeah,
So
but and I think in this case, that's what I wanted to show. It wasn't really about retaining the customer. Is that the customers who were buying weren't going to buy again because they were at a stage they didn't need it anymore. But her content and messaging was just not able to speak at that time to those first time moms who needed it. So there's one, look at your retention marketing. What do you need to do to keep them in? So she could look at, is there other kind of products and messaging I could do to maybe offer the experienced moms? But in this case, by getting to know who's really buying from you, she could see, wait, I need to switch some things in my content that I'm creating, even on my website and my emails and my ads, to be able to speak to more to the first time moms as well. So sometimes it's not the pure retention marketing, it's a combination of knowing who you're speaking to and then translating that to your retention marketing activities.
yeah, Yeah, that's a good point. Of course, it's very product dependent. So, in another example, I could give you from my experiences when a lot of brands face this challenges, their products are their biggest enemies because the products are so good, you probably wouldn't need to buy them again. And we have a few of those, I think. But like that's where a good marketing or good marketing arm comes in. When you have a product that's not a frequently purchased product, how do you expand your customer lifetime? Or how do you get repeat how do you engage the same customers again and again? And again, I would cite my favorite example of Blendjet. Back in the day, Blendjet noticed that their devices were being bought once or twice maximum because they never really break down. And unlike Apple, that has a planned obsolescence for their devices, which will break down after a certain number of years. The batteries start dying, so that you keep coming back for more. Blendjet really lasts for a long time. So they were like, okay, so what do we do to keep the brand going, right? We can't just sell once and just be disappear. So that's why they like really the product and the engineering team got together and they started offering premixes for smoothies that could be used in the Blendjet. So people who had bought their Blendjet could keep coming back again to buy those. And this is a pure play marketing idea, but they went big time into projecting Blendjet as a gifting solution. So for every occasion you can think of, they thought of like Blendjet as a giftable. And that's why you don't have like one color of Blendjet or one style. You have 100 plus colors and styles, so that even for one person one is not enough, because some days you're feeling a little festive and partying, so no, you want a gold Blendjet. Or someday you have people coming over and it's a Christmas setup, so you want like a little more jazzy sort of Blendjet. Someday you're going to the gym, so you need a very basic one. So it's a lot of how you play with the idea of what the customer could want from their long term, or rather this fixed heavy ticket item purchase that could really change the game in terms of repeat purchases. But then again, it all boils down to know the customer, what their feelings for their product are. And maybe you wouldn't have even thought of all the different ways that product could be used to make a case for a strong repeat purchase.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that reminds me, like your blended example, internationally we have Nespresso machines. Um, the coffee machines, they have different styles, different colors, but where they really also it's the coffee pods, right? That people go back to, and there's a whole experience in their store that they're buying it for. It's again a machine that you don't have to keep buying again. But they created a whole club vibe around it. It was an espresso club. You felt exclusive when you joined them. There's this, you're getting welcome to the club. They've created a whole concept about returning the pods for recycling as well. And just if you walk into an espresso store, the experience on its own is so much, but they have also linked it really well to their online bet where you can easily buy and you can even subscribe to the pods. So there's just so many ways where you can think beyond what that main core product, what you can also add around it. But it really comes to who's my customer, what do they want, what do I offer, what kind of value am I really bringing to them, and then being consistent across your products and all your content with that.
Great note. So just to conclude, I have one question. You talk about conscious brands and having a brand mission. What are some of the things that you think are the overarching values or themes in the next year that are going to probably define a brand's purpose in the coming year? For example, it could be sustainability, it could be climate change, but what are some of the themes? I'm not saying, okay, these are like available to shop and a brand can just go adopt one to make it look more woke or like aligned to a cause. But just like what are some of the arguments against e-commerce that could be maybe minimized by attaching yourself to this particular value and not be a brand that is looking to profit at any cost?
So I think, like I said again in the beginning, the sustainability and being ethical, for me, that's a principle of business and should not just be that should be kind of ingrained in how you work and everything you do, and shouldn't just be that marketing tag. But what I am seeing is a lot of movement across e-commerce and discussions where they're really, people are actually asking all the e-commerce industry to start participating into what we call like slow living products, like the blended example, products that kind of last as well, right? Something that means to you so much more than just a one-time use thing. So those are definitely, so you do have the sustainability angle. You have a lot around slow, enjoying the little moments in life, time together, especially having come out of the pandemic. You see a lot of these themes coming out when people really struggled, and now with the inflation where people are also taking care of the money they spend. So they're not necessarily stopping in spending, but people are looking at, if I'm spending this extra dollar or euro or rupee, where am I giving it out to? Being more conscious about it. So it's about conscious spending as well. So I see some of those kind of themes coming up a lot more and everything. But I guess, again, I'm going to bring it back down to knowing your customer and what they want, and also knowing what vision you're creating with your business. Because there's a purpose that you have for your business. What do you really see, that impact that you're trying to create, and what does your customer want? And then be able to create that theme going forward.
Absolutely. And having said that, a cause or a initiative shouldn't be just a tag. And a prime example of this is a lot of brands these days are proudly calling themselves vegan, and that's great. I'm all for it. I'm vegan myself. But what really irks me is that a lot of brands that are anyway vegan, because they typically don't anyway use ingredients that are not vegan, and calling themselves vegan may make you look a conscious brand. But then
Yeah.
that's being a little disingenuous if you are calling yourself vegan, but then are the founders aligned to the to veganism, or is your company like why if you are woke enough or conscious enough to have the label vegan on your products, then are you also aligned with the values behind veganism? Or like you can be a restaurant and call your packaging vegan and sustainable, but like is your procuring and supply chain vegan or sustainable? So having said that, what I mean is mean it when you align yourself to a cause. Otherwise you're just going to look very disingenuous and trying to sort of
Yeah.
get on the sustainability gravy train, which I think a lot of people are seeing through now.
Yeah. And that's what I meant when I meant it's a principle of business. It needs to be ingrained in everything you do, what you stand for. So if you're choosing to, if you're saying that your products are vegan, then well, check out everything else in your business operations if it's also being aligned. Because I just had to laugh when you said that, because I'm in Holland, of course, and nowadays a lot of the supermarkets are starting to sell a lot more Indian products as well. So like the lentils and so gram flour, besan, and they're all being branded as vegan and gluten free, and I'm thinking, well, we knew that since centuries. uh, so I'm seeing those examples around more and more. So don't jump on a bandwagon for something. If there's something that you truly stand for and do, then make sure that it's translated across your different aspects of your business and not just something for marketing. And obviously we're not all perfect, but every step in that right is a right direction, right?
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And I think if two of the causes, or rather initiatives, that e-commerce companies can really aim to be aligned with, and that will really make a difference, is of course being carbon neutral. There is a lot of waste involved in e-commerce, and that's been a constant criticism of how much it fuels this blind capitalism and waste and all of that. And I think you can't not be wasteful to a certain extent, but you can be carbon neutral. And I know a couple of startups that sort of like have an option that you can, these are actually add-ons on Shopify that you can have, where you ask your customer, do you want your packaging to be sustainable or recyclable? And then the customer pays a few cents more, but the packaging becomes a little more carbon neutral. And I think that's something that brands can look into.
Yeah.
I think sustainability is not a trend. It's a need of the hour, and it's always going to be. So I think all discounts and everything is well and good, but if you can really align yourself to a really good cause and mean it, I think that's being a conscious brand, and I'm sure you'll agree with me.
Absolutely, and that being carbon neutral is such a big discussion. Again, I, but also realize that, for example, offering people to offset points by planting trees, it's just a beginning, because just replanting trees, which may take another 20 years to grow, is not enough. So again, think beyond the aspects of, what can I do? Can I create recycled packaging? Can I deliver something through different means? In Holland, we have a lot of deliveries happening by electric vehicles or bikes nowadays. So there's just so much more things that you can do. Even the platform you use, the service you use for e-commerce, there's so much more to look at, because we do play a big role in. I think we can really play a big role in that sustainability conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a podcast episode by in
On its
itself,
own.
right? So we should talk about that, because I think this is a very cause very close to my heart, is rather carbon neutral e-commerce on a whole. So let's look at that someday. But for now, I think we had a very interesting and I think meaningful conversation about a lot of things that mean a lot to e-commerce. So hopefully, our viewers have derived some value from this conversation. And Monica, I think you wanted to offer our listeners something. So I'll.
Yeah, so I talk so much about getting to know your customers. So I have just a really handy download for you, which you can download from. She'll provide you the links, which is about the 4 types of categories of questions to ask your customer. So you can actually get started with that today. It will be the 4 Ds. Actually touched on some of them during the conversation indirectly. It's all about your demographics, the desires, how people behave within your category, and what really makes them happy. And little checklists to go with each, so you can actually start going now and diving into and getting to know your customers. So no excuses.
Thanks, Mon. Okay, so that was Monica Sharma Patnekar, and I'll have her LinkedIn in the description link down below, so you can connect with her if needed. And of course, Monica is a marketer and a fractional CMO. So if any of your brands, e-commerce brands, are looking to grow more meaningful or just scale up to the next level, she's your girl. And of course, for retention marketing, we are your guys. So do get in touch if for your needs and. That note, have a great day ahead. Thank you for
thank,
listening.
thank you
Thanks.
so much.
It was great having you on this. And yeah, we'll see you around.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Thank you.
See you.